For 300,000 years, the human body barely changed. Same brain, same metabolism, same instincts. And for almost all of that time, humans stayed lean. Not because they tried to, because their world never gave them a choice. Then, in the last 150 years, a rounding error in that 300,000-year story, something broke. Not in the body, in the world around it. By the year 2022, over 1 billion people on Earth were living with obesity, a number that didn't exist at any point for the first 299,850 years of that story. So what actually happened in that final sliver of time? That's what we're going to walk through. And by the end, you'll understand exactly what your body is still doing, and why almost none of it was ever really willpower. For roughly 300,000 years, the human body had one job: survive the gap between meals. Not the meal itself, the gap. Take the Hadza, a hunter-gatherer people in Tanzania, studied closely because they still live something close to that ancestral rhythm today. Their diet shifts completely with the season's honey and berries in the wet months, tubers and meat when things get lean. Some months, abundance. Other months, barely enough. And across the whole history of our species, the humans who made it through those lean months weren't the leanest people around. They were the ones whose bodies got really good at storing energy the second food showed up. That wasn't a flaw in the design. That was the design working exactly as intended. Anthropologists have a name for this: the thrifty gene idea. The theory that the humans who survived best in times of famine were the ones whose bodies clung to every spare calorie. They passed that trait on. Generation after generation, for thousands of years, that trait got reinforced. Not because it made people fat, because it kept people alive. Then, something happened that had never happened before in the entire history of our species. Refrigeration, industrial farming, global shipping. Here's the scale of it. In 1900, the average person had access to a handful of seasonal, local foods. By the year 2000, a single American supermarket stocked over 40,000 different items, most of them available in every season. Forever. In the space of about 150 years, a blink, biologically speaking, the famine simply stopped. Calories became available every hour of every day, unlimited, almost zero effort required. And your body? Still bracing for the winter that isn't coming. Here's the strange part. The genes that saved your ancestors' lives are the exact same genes sitting in your body right now. They didn't get worse. They just never got the memo that the emergency is over. Here's something that almost never happened in nature. Sugar and fat, together, in the same bite. A ripe fruit, mostly sugar. A fresh kill, mostly fat. They almost never showed up at the same time. When they did a rare honeycomb, a fatty marrow bone the brain lit up. Because that moment was rare. And rare meant valuable. Now here's the modern comparison. In 1822, the average American ate roughly 2 kilograms of added sugar a year. Today, that number is closer to 34 kilograms a year. Almost 100 grams a day hidden in bread, sauces, drinks, things that don't even taste sweet. Walk into any store on any street in any city. Sugar and fat, combined, engineered, on every single shelf. Your brain still treats that combination like it's the jackpot. It has no idea the jackpot is now everywhere, all the time, for $1.50. And it gets more deliberate than that. Food scientists have a term for what they build: hyper-palatable. There's a rough formula behind it. Hit the right ratio of fat to sugar, or fat to salt, and you create something no naturally occurring food ever was. Something that overrides your fullness signal instead of triggering it. Engineered to hit your reward system hard. Engineered to never quite satisfy it, so you keep going back. Not because you're weak, because it was built on purpose in a lab to be hard to stop eating. This is also where habit loops come in. Every habit runs on the same basic circuit: cue, craving, response, reward. See the snack. Craving spikes. You eat it. Brain rewards you. Loop closes. Loop resets. Loop looks for its next cue. Repeat that loop enough times, in enough places: your kitchen, your commute, your desk, and it stops being a choice. It becomes wiring. That's not a character flaw. That's just how habits are built, in every human brain, every time. Let's put them side by side. Human 1. A hunter-gatherer, roughly 20,000 years ago, walks up to 15 kilometers a day. Just to eat. Eats once, maybe twice a day. Often less. Food, meat, roots, wild greens, whatever's in season. Nothing processed, nothing engineered. Sleeps 8 to 9 hours, in sync with the sun. No screens, no blue light at 11 p.m. Stress hits fast, sharp, real, a predator. A threat. Then, it's over. Cortisol spikes, cortisol drops, back to baseline. Human 2. Right now, probably you. Walks a few hundred meters between a car, a desk, and a couch. Studies on office workers put the average closer to 3,000, 4,000 steps a day, roughly a tenth of human 1's distance. Eats 3 to 6 times a day, never once runs low. Food, engineered to bypass the signal that tells you you're full, sleeps under 7 hours. Interrupted, delayed by a screen, the average adult now checks their phone dozens of times a day. And average screen time worldwide is over 6 hours. Stress hits and doesn't leave. Bills, notifications, deadlines, a slow drip, for weeks. Months, cortisol spikes. And just stays up. Here's why that matters. Chronically elevated cortisol tells your body one thing, very clearly: store fat. Around the abdomen. Specifically, and it turns up your craving for exactly the foods sitting in your kitchen right now. Same hormone. Same biological wiring, unchanged for thousands of years. Completely different outcome. Because the stress didn't change. The duration of it did. Ancient stress was a sprint. You're running it as a marathon. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. This isn't just a theory. It's been observed directly, in real populations, in real time. The Pima, an indigenous community with members living on both sides of the US-Mexico border, are one of the most studied examples in this entire field. One group kept a traditional lifestyle: farming, high daily activity, minimally processed food. The other group shifted, over a couple of generations, into a modern, calorie-dense, low-movement environment. Same ancestry. Nearly identical genes, but the group living the modern lifestyle developed obesity and type 2 diabetes at dramatically higher rates than their relatives living the traditional way. Same species, same genetics. Different world, different outcome. That's the entire story of this video, already run as a real-world experiment. This is where most videos stop. Eat less, move more. Have some discipline. That's not wrong. It's just missing the fight it's asking you to win. Every signal around you, every ad, every aisle, every delivery app, every commute nudges you toward eating more and moving less. At the same time, the two hormones that tell your brain "I'm full" and "I'm hungry," leptin and ghrelin, get less accurate with poor sleep and chronic stress. So the full signal gets weaker. And the hungry signal gets louder. Willpower is one small, tired resource, fighting a battle every single hour of every single day. The forces on the other side are structural, constant, built into your environment on purpose. That's not an excuse. It's just the truth about what you're actually up against. There's a reason diets built purely on willpower tend to fail. Long-term studies following dieters for years consistently show most regain the weight within a few years, often because nothing about their daily environment ever actually changed. They ask you to win a battle every hour forever, without ever changing the battlefield. Change the battlefield instead, and the fight gets smaller. That's the real difference between people who seem to manage this effortlessly and people who struggle constantly. It was never a difference in character. It was a difference in environment. So is this hopeless? No. But the fix isn't more discipline. It's rebuilding pieces of the world your body was actually built for deliberately, in small ways. Here's what that looks like in practice. Movement, worked back into the day, not as a punishment, just as a normal part of it. A walk after a meal. Stairs instead of the elevator. Standing while you think, small, but closer to human 1's 15 kilometers than human 2's few hundred meters. Whole food, that doesn't hijack your reward system on purpose. Simple swaps food closer to how it grows, further from how it's engineered in a lab to be irresistible. Consistent sleep. Real sleep. Same time down, same time up, most nights, even when it's inconvenient, because that's the one lever that resets both hunger hormones at once. Stress that actually resolves instead of quietly stacking up for months. A short walk outside. A real conversation. Silence without a screen in your hand. None of these are dramatic. That's the point. They're not meant to fight your biology. They're meant to quietly hand it back the world it recognizes. Your body isn't broken. It's a perfectly tuned survival machine, built across 300,000 years, just running in the wrong century. So the real question was never why do humans get fat? It's this. What happens if just for one generation we give that ancient machine the world it's still waiting for?